Right, good morning everybody, and welcome to our conference. Before anybody asks, it's a self-inflicted injury. It's one of those jobs where my wife turned around and said, "I told you should have put it away." Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago I fell over the roof box, which is in the middle of the drive on a nice wet rainy Sunday night, and I've actually torn my ACL, so I'm going to be on crutches for a while now, so unfortunately. So I thought I might as well tell everybody rather than everybody asking me, what have you done? So I get no sympathy at home at all. So welcome to our conference. It's looking at the agenda, it's going to be a great day. Can I ask please that mobile phones are put onto silent? I know we've got children in the creche and things like that, but obviously you can still see them going. But there's nothing worse than during somebody speaking than the phone's actually ringing. So please, if you can put them onto silent, that would be great. Can we ask, obviously, you don't leave the auditorium unless absolutely necessary, i.e. the creche have rung you, so that it doesn't disturb anybody else. Most of the TOFS trustees are here. A lot of us are all wearing the lanyards, and you've got visitors for our visiting speakers and guests and things like that. So please do come and talk to us at the break and the interval. Just a reminder, we are filming today, so please be aware of that. Fire exits are located at back and there. I'm doing my air hostess a little bit. And I'm going to keep popping up during the course of the day and just giving a few announcements. Apart from that, I'm going to hand over now to Professor Losty, who is going to chair the whole day for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. It's a pleasure to be asked by TOFS to chair this session. I think looking at the programme, it's truly excellent, and I hope that both you as parents and families, and indeed us as specialists, learn a lot from today. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Diane Stevens, who's the CEO of TOFS. She comes from Northern Ireland, just like I do, but I can assure you there's no insider dealing here and no conflict of interest. So, and we're still not certain about the backstop, but I'm a bit of a double agent. I carry two passports, so I'm well covered. So Diane, if you'd like to say a few words, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Losty. Don't hold the Northern Ireland thing against me, please. Can I just echo those words of welcome? First of all, I know some of you have probably left very young TOFs today, and perhaps even the first time that you've left them, and it's a military operation, isn't it? Just getting out through the door for an hour, never mind being able to get away for the day. So thank you for making that effort to be here. Some of you with older TOFs and teenage TOFs who've dragged your parents along, no doubt, you're very welcome as well. And of course, our adult TOF community, you are a group that we very much want to engage with and support. So we hope you make the most out of today and get to meet as many people as you can. Finally, those healthcare professionals who've come along, you've given us your precious Saturday, so we needn't say any more than that. Thank you very much. Before we get on to the main part of the day, because you don't want to be hearing from me, you want to be hearing from our colleagues here, we wanted just to take 10 minutes or so to tell you about some really important developments here at TOFS. We've been in a very exciting phase of growth, and long may that continue, and we wanted to tell you what that means to you, and perhaps for members, and a little bit about our next phase. Okay. So first of all, let's start off by looking at who we are, and perhaps more importantly, who we're not. So some of you might be familiar with the branding in the bottom right-hand corner. This is a photograph of the original factory shop, which very unfortunately shortens their name also to TOFS, and again is very similar branding to ourselves. So just for absolute clarity, we are nothing to do with the original factory shops. Perhaps differentiating the branding is something that we need to be looking at in the next year or two, but it's probably not just one of those priorities right now. So let's look at who we are. We are a self-help group, and we started off in 1982 by a group of parents who, probably like yourselves, found yourselves with a beautiful little baby with a very difficult to pronounce condition that they had never heard of, and no one else seemed to have ever heard of either. So they set about helping to support each other by setting up a self-help group, and obviously they did a really good job, because 35 years later we're still here. We're now a registered charity. We are the world's largest speaking support group, and we've got almost 3,000 members in over 56 countries. So the majority of our membership lives here in the UK. Our overall aim remains to improve those who were born with esophageal atresia and Tracheo-Oesophageal Fistula. We're very proud for the part that we played in being one of the founder members of EAT, which is the International Federation of Support Groups, and we've got Graham Slater here today, who's the chair of EAT. A lot of you will hopefully know about the pastoral support that we offer. We do various different things. Some of you might not be aware of the local contact network. And these are volunteers who, we have 6 of them currently. We'd really like more of these people. They're all TOF parents, experienced. They've been there and done that, although they've had different experiences with their TOF children. Their contact details are available on the members only section of our website. So if you haven't ever spoken to a local contact, do please. I know we've got one here today in the form of Maggie Kelly, who's the Maggie, thank you for putting your hand up. Welcome, who's the local contact for this area. So please feel free to have a chat with Maggie today. So many things to turn on now and move over and know where we're at. The Facebook group, that is probably one of our most visible strands of pastoral support. And again, I'm sure a lot of you use it. Is there anyone here who doesn't use it? That might be easier to find that out. No, everybody uses the Facebook group. That's great. There is a little bit of a misconception that we are just a Facebook group, and I'm not slighting the Facebook group in any shape or form, because it does provide excellent pastoral support, and we have to pay tribute to the late Noreen Ramsey-Dowling, who's a TOF adult, who started the group off in the first instance. We facilitated the Facebook group probably since around about 2012, and a lot of its success is due currently to the scrupulous monitoring by a couple of our trustees in particular, Sue Lewis-Jones and Dennis Harvey, and I know Darrell and Tamazin are involved in doing that as well. So moving on now. Okay, so TOFS is governed by a group of trustees, all of whom have a personal interest in esophageal atresia. TOFS is governed by a group of trustees, as I've mentioned already. They've all got a personal connection with esophageal atresia. They're responsible for the governance of the charity. We have parents of all ages here. So looking at the bottom row, probably Darrell, you're probably the parent of our youngest trustee. I'm not talking about your age, or sorry, our youngest child or TOF child. Darrell is double trouble. He has 2 TOFs, one older, and now you've got Matthew as well, who's around about 2. We have Samantha, who's a grandparent of a smaller TOF as well. And then if we move up to the top row, we have Duncan. I'm going to make Duncan feel like an old man now, because he's got Laura, who's off to university. We have Dennis, whose granddaughter Phoebe is similar sort of age. And then we have John and Sue, whose baby TOFs are no longer baby TOFs. They're now adult TOFs. And of course, we have adult TOF Graham Slater. So the trustees are responsible for the governance. And together we work to make sure the TOFS meets the needs of its members. They're volunteers essentially, although they do so much work that, and we get their expertise and skill free of charge, that I'm quite sure they don't always feel like volunteers. Some have become increasingly involved in operational activity over the years. And so we made a decision in 2018 that wasn't necessarily sustainable in the long term, and they appointed a CEO to drive TOFs forward. So our current business model is that we're much less trustee reliant, and we're addressing those staffing needs currently. Having said that, the conference would not have been planned in the scrupulous detail that it has been without the input from John Pearce and Sue Lewis-Jones, so thank you very much for that. Okay, now looking at our staff team, we're small but highly effective. There's only been Jane and I for most of this year. Most of you have met Jane at reception. Jane's been with us 20 years. She looks after all the administration, fundraising, and especially all the finance administration. So we're pleased that we've had her for that period of time. I joined TOFS in 2008. I became Chief Executive just last year, or earlier on this year, and I moved up then to nearly full-time because I was part-time up to that stage. We're delighted that we're getting a new accomplice in the form of Rosalind Nicklin, who really wanted to be here today. And this is a new role that we've created, and Rosalind's someone that you'll be hearing a lot from in the future, because her role is part of the strategy to move forward to expand the scope of our volunteer network. And she'll also play a really key part in helping us complete some of the projects that we hope to do over the next 18 months. Rosalind has been trained as an occupational therapist. She's worked more recently in a care home in Derby, and she starts with us in the middle of October. And then we'll be recruiting for another member management and pastoral support worker. This is someone who'll work at Nottingham part-time, 18 hours. We're really reviewing our offering for members at the moment, and this person will be responsible for doing that. So a couple of key facts now that are important. First of all, relating to our membership. We've had tremendous growth in membership. I probably need to go through this faster than I intended to. But 10 years ago, we were getting about 30 or 40 new members a year. Now we get an average of 270. So that's an incredible increase. And when you consider that there's 180 TOF away births every year, I think we're doing something right, obviously. There's various reasons for that, potentially the increase in technology and smartphones. The fact that we enabled an online joining form has helped as well. The fact that we've got a thriving Facebook group and there's spin-offs from that. And probably one of the most important things is that I think we've got a really good relationship with the TOF centres. And we really want parents to know that support is available at point of diagnosis. It doesn't matter if they join TOFS or not at that stage. They can use the Facebook group and get pastoral support at that point. But we do have a very good animation video on our website, which TOF adult Vicky Martin put together for us. And we feel that it's quite comforting at what can be a really bewildering time. So we like people to know that that's available. That increase in membership obviously brings about changes in fundraising as well. And we are just incredibly lucky with the creativity and efforts that you guys go to raise money for us. And we don't want to spend too long on it today. John Pearce, our treasurer, is here. John is like a computer on legs. So he'll be able to give you all the details that you need. Excuse me, in relation to fundraising. Our annual accounts are available on the website as well. But we really do feel that we have a responsibility to put that hard-earned fundraising to good use. So whether it's a £5 or 500 quid, and much more in some cases, we're really grateful. So thank you. So looking at our key aims then moving forward, these can be broadly divided into these three key areas. We want to extend our support to TOFs, regardless of their age. We need to make sure that we are financially viable and accountable to our regulators. And ultimately, we believe that the best way forward for the TOF community is to increase our engagement with healthcare professionals, which brings me very quickly onto this. And this looks like something that's just arrived out of the solar system, so forgive me for that. I just nuked it from one of our pages in Chew, but do please visit the poster downstairs that John and Graham have put together, because it explains all the acronyms and tells you a little bit more about that research and what's happening currently. We're moving very quickly on to other things. These are things that we do that you can help us with, actually. So recently, this is one of our local contacts, Kay Leach, and she manned a table for us at a neonatal study day at Alderhay, which is a great opportunity for us to talk to a lot of health professionals at the same time. The next time you're at your local centre of repair, ask them if they do any of these neonatal study days, and please tell us about it. If we can't send someone along, you might like to go along yourselves and give a parent perspective of TOF away. We're doing a special study day in November as well. I think this is probably about the third or fourth one of these that we've done in the past. So again, if you have access to a speech and language therapist and they belong to a special interest group, please, again, mention TOFs to them. If we can't send someone along, perhaps you might be able to go along with us, and that way we can raise the profile of TOF away. Thanks, Darrell. So back to the first aim that we're particularly keen and we want to get your feedback from, and that's extending our support to young and old. Now, these are just projects. This is all very fluid, and we will be seeking patient engagement with you to find out if you feel this is the right way to progress or if there's something different that we should be doing. So I'm sorry I can't go into any of these in detail, but please do find me today. There are projects that we hope to be starting in the short to medium term and some that we hope to finish. I know Julie has been working on the recipe book from the year dot, and hopefully with Rosalind's input and some volunteer input, we'll be able to move that along a little bit. So lastly, and this is really important, so I must not miss this, because these are the people who really do make a difference already in our TOF community. Just have some photographs of some of them. We have the CHU team on the left-hand side, not the top photograph. She's a little young to recruit. She's there just for cuteness factor. And then we have our local contacts along the top, just one of them not pictured. We have volunteer input from the likes of Nia and Drew at the bottom of the slide. Nia is an adult TOF. She's been on our conference subcommittee. We're always keen to consult with adult TOFs because they're, in some respects, a new audience for us to a degree. So Nia's always been there to discuss the conference and give the adult TOF perspective on that. Drew Bailey, he works with our finance subcommittee. And we have our birthday fairy who's very shy and didn't want to be photographed. Could you be involved today? Please find me or one of the trustees or Jane and talk to us if you feel you would like to volunteer. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great conference.